Welcome to the Diva Details. Welcome to the Diva Details, where bold, confident women embrace life unapologetically. From love and sex to wellness and reinvention, we keep it raw, real, and powerful. No filters, no limits. Just fearless conversations to help you thrive. Let's dive in with Diva Mia and Diva Cat.
Well, hello, everybody. This is Diva Mia. Today, I have a super special guest. He's near and dear to my heart. He's a friend that I met in college a while ago. We reconnected recently, and I got to hear his story. I thought that his story will touch other people's heart as well, because it's so amazing what he's gone through and how he's come out of it the other side. He's become such an amazing person, and I think you'll agree that his story will touch your heart and touch your soul. He is a twice cancer survivor from Hodgkin's disease. He first got Hodgkin's disease when he was 23. He survived it, and then he survived it again. Everyone has a little bit of a different journey, but I thought his would be an inspiring story nonetheless. So without further ado, hello, Sir Kirk. How are you?
Hello. Thanks for having me on your show. It's great to be here today.
I'm so glad to have you. I know that you've gone through a lot, and your story really touched my heart. And I wanted to just let you tell your story in your own way. Let's go back to the very beginning. When you first started feeling bad, when you first had an idea that something wasn't right, what happened? Give us the background.
So I was a college swimmer. I swam for the University of Indianapolis. And my last year of swimming, I was really struggling in practice. And I was having a ton of joint pain. I pretty much became addicted to Advil that last season. I had to take at least 4 Advil a day and it was already, that was the cancer. It was already been in my body for over a year, 2, 3 years. So it really was manifesting hard though. And so I just was training like crap. And so the first time I had it, Hodgkin's disease is cancer of the lymph nodes, and you have lymph nodes all over your body. And the first time I had it, it was all in my neck. And then I had a big cluster right here above my heart. But one day my neck swelled up right here. I had a big bump appear right there. And so then we're like, okay, what is this? So when I started doing tests and I had checked out, and then the very next day, yes, you have cancer.
Wow. So you had some signs, but it'd been there for quite some time. You don't even know when it started.
Correct.
And it was kind of dragging on you. You weren't feeling well. And then once you got your diagnosis, how did you feel? What was your approach?
Well, when you're 23 and you're told you have cancer, it's a shocking thing. For the first month, as everybody finds out, you feel like you have a big red X on you. Like everybody looks at you and they just see this big red X. That was just the visual that I had in my head. And then, of course, it's the last thing you think of when you fall asleep. And it's the first thing you think of when you wake up. Like you wake up in the morning and it hits you. It's like you have cancer. And it's just like, that was probably that for the first 30 days. It was like, that's the first. And that shock each morning of waking up and like to realize that was difficult. Yeah.
You went through your first diagnosis, you treated it, you beat it, you saw it. And what age were you when it came back?
Yeah. So the first time, they gave me multiple options of what I wanted to do, but I decided to do radiation treatments. And also we caught it somewhat early. And they gave me a 90% chance of beating it the first time. So I did radiation treatments, and that lasted an entire summer. And that was like a round of golf compared to what was going to come 4 years later. So, but yeah, radiation treatments we did that. And that was the first attack, and it seemed to work. So with this particular type of cancer, you have to make it 5 years of remission before you're cleared for life. So it ended up being, I only made it 4 years, and then it came back.
So they're testing you every so often. How often did you have to go through testing?
We would do maybe 2 or 3 times a year. I would go in for blood work and MRIs, just to make sure it wasn't coming back, and it didn't for you.
When you got diagnosed and you're 23, and I know it was probably quite a shock, what and you woke up every morning and you went to bed every night thinking about it, what were you thinking about for the future as far as career goes?
Yeah, I still had one semester left of college. So I knew I was going back to Indy in the fall. I didn't have my degree yet. I was done swimming. My years of swimming were done with. So I just wanted to get healthy and get back and get my degree. It wasn't like looking past that. It was just looking like you got, 4 more months of school. That was the as far down the road as I was looking, really.
So you went through and you did the radiation treatments and you got into what's called remission, or someone that's no longer showing signs of cancer. And once you're in remission, did you feel like you were home free, or were you still a little concerned?
I really felt home free, especially when you go 2-3 years in, you're like, yeah, I'm done. These MRIs they're just a waste of time and whatnot. I just thought it was, man, what a little blip on the radar that was. That was sucked, but it's all gone. Like, let's go now.
So did you get symptoms again for the second time you got it?
Yes. So the second time, one of the major clusters was in my lower back near my kidneys. And when I would drink alcohol, it would actually inflame the tumors that were in my lower back on my kidneys. And so I was like, I'd have 2 drinks and my lower back would start hurting. I'm like, oh my gosh, do I have kidney stones? Do I have kidney problems? So I went in to see a urologist, and they had me, of course, like in a cup. And then they're like, you have blood in your urine. I'm like, okay. And then the urologist started asking me, he started probing into my health history. And I'm like, well, I had Hodgkin's disease 4 years ago. And he was like, oh, he's like, well, you probably ought to go back to your oncologist and it may have come back. So I went from thinking I had some type of kidney problem to, yes, your Hodgkin's disease is back, and it's in your lower, it was in my organs, basically all around my organs. I always think, like, what if I wasn't drinking alcohol? It could have taken 6 more months to figure out that it was back. The alcohol was inflaming the tumors that were near my kidneys.
Yeah. So it was actually a good thing to be going out and partying in your 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So gin and tonics may have saved my life, because it alerted me much earlier than that was the thing. Like, why am I having lower back pain when I have a drink?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was the cancer had come back.
So what did you decide to do the second time around when you got?
Second time, it was much more serious. My odds of beating it went from 90% down to 66%. So now it's getting interesting. Now we're really rolling the dice here. You got a 1 in 3 chance of not making it. So just had to go. There was no question. I got to go chemo.
And you were 7 the second time?
I was, yes.
20.
Yeah, I had my 28th birthday during the 6 months of chemo. So, but yeah, when I started chemo, I was 27. They gave me the option of putting a port in, which is this plastic thing they put in here, and it's underneath your skin, and you have this wire dangling out, and then when you go in to get your chemo, they just hook you up to that. And I couldn't handle that, thinking for 6 months, every time I got out of the shower, look at the mirror, see this like wire hanging out of my chest. Mentally, I couldn't do that. So I did it the hardcore way, where they just drain it into your arms each time. And so the way my particular chemo worked was I would go in every other Monday, and then it was like a 3 or 4 hour process where they would drain a chemo cocktail into my body through 3 different IVs. And each IV would take like an hour to drain into me. And so got into this cycle where I would be sick for a week, and then I'd be okay for a week, and then I'd be sick for a week, and then I'd be okay for a week. And so we did that for 6 months.
Wow. So you're 28 years old, where other people are out there having fun, meeting people, partying a little bit, and you're going through chemotherapy. And I'm sure you had to you throw up often. How did it feel when it went into your veins? Did it burn, or what was the feeling that the chemo does when you actually have it go into your body?
It definitely burned. It also like felt cold after time. Like, it made my veins and my forearms became as hard as coat hangers because it just scars. The drugs are so harsh. It scars your veins. Now, eventually, like months and maybe a year later, my veins are soft and normal again. But at the time, like, those drugs are really harsh. As we got farther in, I would start throwing up during the process. I was in a room where everybody's sitting in these lounge chairs and you have your chemo bag drip. But eventually I was getting so sick that they had to put me in my own private room. I would start vomiting during the process and they would like, don't pull your IV. And I'm leaning over off the table and the nurse is holding the bucket and I'm puking in the bucket. And she's like, don't roll out of your IV. Don't pull your IV out. It got really harsh.
Yeah. So the treatments are terrible. You're not feeling well. Did you have support from friends and family?
I didn't have too much support. Some of that is on me. I just shut down and I didn't want people around me. I don't know why I reacted that way. My best friends all lived away. Some of them had just finished college and moved. Some of them were still in college. I didn't really have that too many good friends in town. My sister was a freshman at San Diego State. She was a swimmer there. And my two brothers, maybe all three of my siblings were in California at this point. So yeah, it was a lonely journey, but part of that was on me. I did have one friend who came to visit occasionally. So that was just awesome. But see, I also had to work. We were lower middle class, our family. I had three siblings and my mom was working three jobs and my dad worked hard. And I was living at home when all this happened, which was a fortuitous thing. I had already lived in Tampa, Florida and moved back to Illinois. So I was back in living with my parents when the second diagnosis came about. So that was a lucky thing. And then also I was a manager at a bagel coffee shop and the owners were super supportive and worked with me. So they would let me work for a week and then I would be sick for a week. And there wasn't really an option to just not work. I had a car payment. I had credit card bills. I had student loan payments and my parents couldn't afford those. I couldn't just dump all these bills in their laps. Our family we were just tough. I don't know. I didn't really get much sympathy. It's just like, deal with it, work. Like I would be sick for a week. I'd be on the couch with a puke bucket next to me. Day 4 or 5, I'd start feeling better. And then I would work for a week. And then, then the Monday would roll around where I'd go back in for another chemo treatment. So
back when this happened, the internet was out, but there wasn't a lot of information on alternative treatments. Did you try any alternative treatments or did you just go the traditional route as far as chemo and radiation?
Yeah. Additional like ideas or treatments were really about this back then. I was just full trust in the medical opinions and ideas and game plans. So
you went through chemo for 6 months. Did you get a clean bill of health at the end of the chemo?
No. Month 5, that's when my mom died suddenly.
Wow.
She died during back surgery at the same hospital that I was having my chemo treatments at. She had gone in for back surgery. And so she died suddenly while I'm at my weakest point of my life. And I later found out from my grandma that my mom was, and for your listeners who aren't religious, that's fine, but we were religious in our family. And so my mom was praying to God for him to take her life instead of mine. So I didn't know that at the time. Now, I don't know if God took her up on that deal. I found that out maybe a couple years later when my grandma told me that my mom was praying that she go instead of me. So, yeah.
So you were struggling a lot. You had a lot of stress happening. You were working, you lose your mother, and you're still in the middle of chemo, and you still have, your indicators are still showing that you have cancer. How did it make you feel as far as like motivation and drive and to realize you were going through so much? How was your emotional level?
My plate was full. A weird way, my mom's passing, I couldn't even really allocate that much grief and self-pity towards that major life event because my plate was so full with just trying to survive. I lost all my hair. I lost my eyebrows. I lost my armpit hair. I lost like 15 pounds. I was super pale. I just looked like a very unhealthy person, just scrawny, someone who came out of some type of concentration camp or something. Yeah, it was, I mean, talk about, yeah, having your plate full. So I was just trying to survive like myself. I would not eat, I'd eat on Sunday night and then I'd go in for chemo on Monday morning. And then I would be so sick. Sometimes I wouldn't eat till, Wednesday or Thursday, 3 or 4 days later, everything would just come right back up. So
You
yeah,
still
just,
kept a decent mindset, though, it sounds like, through the whole thing, because you just kept chugging along even with all the challenges that were going on.
I think you just take it, it's cliche, but you just take it day by day. You're like, okay, what do I have to do today? And like, if it was a Monday and going in to get chemo, like you break and then you break that down and okay, I got to do this hour is mostly just laying around being sick. And so you just trust that things are going to work out. It was good then like to like go into work and like feel like normal. That was like to go in and work and be around my staff and my coworkers and stuff. That was a good, really good work environment to have. And I think I was meant to have that job during this time.
Did the job provide insurance for you?
No, unfortunately, I was not on any health insurance, but the hospital wiped out all of my medical debt as a good faith gesture for my mom dying. I'd racked up like $80,000 in medical debt. And they're like, well, we're going to just wipe that under the rug since your mom died, without them really admitting anything. They did anything wrong. It was just a good faith gesture. You don't owe us anything because your mom died here. Separate medical procedures. Yeah, no health insurance at the time, but that worked out.
Do you think that there was a medical fault that caused the death, or is that what your thought process is?
Yeah, there was she was complaining of knee pain, and that was she had a blood clot in her knee.
Mm,
And they should have checked that out better before they put her under, because when they put her under for the back surgery, that's what triggered the movement of that blood clot. It went into her lungs and she just went into cardiac arrest right there on the operating table.
gotcha.
So, yeah.
So, how long have you been cancer free? So, you went through 6 months of chemo and you came out of it. How long have you been cancer free?
So now it's been 25 years. Yeah.
So, 25 years. Do you have to get regular tests still?
No, I think May of 2005 was the last time we did a MRI or a CAT scan to just check everything. But by that time, I knew that what my grandma had told me about the deal my mom had made. And so once I knew that, I'm like, oh, well, he's not going to go back on, meaning God. He's not going to go back on his terms. Like he took her. It's not coming back, a third time for me. So at the end of 6 months, they didn't know if it had worked. I had a couple of tumors, but they had the larger one that was like the main one showing up in the MRIs. And that one, it didn't shrink the entire 6 months.
Wow. Still there, the same size?
Yeah, same size. So they're like, okay, so they had this at this hospital where I was at, they have what they call the cancer board. And that was where once a month, all of the radiologists, all of the oncologists, they would all get together in one meeting and they would review the two maybe biggest or trickiest cases that was going on at their hospital. And my case went before this cancer board, and the grand consensus of all those people and all that knowledge and all those degrees was, we don't know if it worked. So I remember I was actually at work. I was at the coffee bagel shop, and I got the call. They called me at work. I didn't even remember giving them that phone number. They called me there and they told me this. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, what do I do? Do I even finish my shift? It was very bizarre. Like basically saying, we don't know if this worked or not. So I already knew, because we'd already talked about if the next step I would have had to gone up to Northwestern's hospital in Chicago and do a bone marrow transplant and basically live in a bubble. I'd be a bubble boy. And my chances of survival would have dropped down to 10%.
Wow.
So, yeah, so they're like, we don't know if this worked or not. And so I'm like, okay. And so here's what we're going to do. We're not going to do anything for 2 months. So you just hang out for 2 months, and 2 months from now, come back in and we'll do some more testing and we'll just take it from there. So they just left me in limbo after going through all that that horrible process and stuff. So
what did you do for 2 months?
It was time to live life to the fullest. So having been a collegiate swimmer, I was still in pretty good shape in my late 20s. So I recovered pretty quickly, actually. I finished chemo on February 28th, and by like a month later, I mean, I was feeling pretty good. I wasn't running quite yet, but I was walking and gaining my weight back. My hair was growing back. I went out to visit one of my best friends in Washington, D.C., and we really had a blast. And I went down to the Florida Keys with two of my friends, and we went jet skiing and really partying it up. And I just really lived life to the fullest for 2 months, just in case Bubble Boy was coming. I just had to try to have as much fun as I could. But also at the same time, I have more and while I was going through chemo. So my plate was still full. Like, I'm still dealing with the loss of my mom. Still don't know if I'm going to live or die.
You went
Yeah,
and life. So you
it's
sound like you
crazy.
surrendered to the process and just went and had fun.
Yeah, I mean, just in case it was my last go around. Yeah, I just tried to have as much fun as I could. I wasn't really planning for the future. You're just living day by day.
You talked a little bit about religion and the spiritual thought process behind your survival. Are there any other emotional or philosophical insights that you can share?
Yeah. When I was going through chemo, all my friends and relatives they're saying, you got to beat this. You got to beat cancer, fighting. And the term like fighting cancer is a misnomer. You don't fight it, you just survive it. You don't get in the ring and put on gloves. You just get down in the fetal position and you just take your beating and then hope that at the end of it, you can stand up. There's no fighting it. It's just, you're just taking it, basically. The pressure really mounted, like, yo, you gotta beat cancer. And so I started feeling a lot of like pressure. It seemed unnecessary. So I kind of got angry at the pressure of this, like, you got to win. There was this song lyric it was a rap group, Naughty by Nature. Anybody remembers hip hop in the early 90s, they're the group that sang OPP. But they had another song called Everything's Gonna Be All Right. And I really liked that song. There was a lyric in that song that really enlightened me. And the lyric goes, how will I do it? How will I make it? I won't. That's how. That lyric really struck me. How will I do it? How will I make it? I won't. That's how. And in the song, he's referring, how are you going to get out of the ghetto? How are you going to make a life for yourself? But for me, that song was like, I wanted to think outside the box. Well, how am I going to beat cancer? I won't. That's how. I'm like, wait, there's another option over here. I'm not in this box. There's an option outside the box. You can die. So I got comfortable with death. And when I did that, when I said, it's okay, when I told myself, it's okay if you don't make it, it's okay. That's an option. And when I really got to that point, like spiritually, I felt this weight come off my shoulders. And that is when I beat cancer.
Really?
When I no longer had the pressure, I removed the pressure of winning. And I'm just like, okay, there's another option. Your story can end here, and that's okay. You'll go on to the next part, of your soul's journey. And so once I relieved the pressure of winning, it's like,
wow,
how will I make it? I won't. That's how. I'll just die.
So you completely.
And then I felt better. Then I was like, now I'm in like things like my energy started flowing, because there was no pressure to win. That was a real psychological breakthrough, and it's a weird one. You got to get comfortable with death. You gotta really look at and like say, okay, I can do this. Meaning I can cross over. I can do that. And so,
Yeah.
but when I got to that spot, that's when I won. That's when I beat it. It's a weird mental journey to go on.
You never looked at cancer as a competitor to beat and just something to surrender to. That's when you won.
Yeah.
It was part of you that you let go, that competitive nature.
Well, I just let go of the pressure of my dad and my mom they had sisters, so I had a lot of aunts. You gotta win. Your grandparents, like, you gotta win. You gotta beat cancer, and they're just being encouraging. But for me, it took it. I don't know. Maybe this was just as being an athlete, like it was like a competition. It's like, well, I don't have to win. It's stop asking me to win. I don't know if I can win. So
Well, that's a complete mindset shift too. I mean, that's a different way of thinking about life. We all die at one point.
Yeah.
Being able to surrender that at 27, 28 years old is, I'm sure, tough because I'm sure you had hopes and dreams for the future. When you let it go, it just released something in you, maybe some anxiety, some stress, and that was probably keeping the cancer in you.
I don't know. It just, I did just energetically feel better though.
So
Once
was this
I,
when you were in Florida, when you had this mindset shift? Was it when you were traveling to Florida and having your party days and living it up?
yeah, it happened during that 2-month limbo period.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. During that 2-month limbo period when they said, we're just going to chill out. And that's when, yeah, that's during that time I made this kind of mental shift and accepted everything and just the acceptance of possibly not making it. I felt at peace. I felt
Okay.
at peace.
Peace is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
You came back after your 2 months, and then what did you do? You went straight to the hospital? What did you handle?
Well, I mean, I wasn't in Florida the whole time. That was just like maybe like a week-long trip. My trip to DC was maybe a week long. So I was still working. I had done some little mini trips and other fun things. But yeah, then we went back. I mean, we did another CAT scan. I remember I'm on my drive to the hospital. Like we did the tests and then, but like you would get the results. So like you meet with the oncologist like a day or two later. But I remember going, it was May 15th of May 15th of 1998. And I remember driving to the hospital to get the news. Either you're good or you're going to Northwestern to, live in a bubble while they do a bone marrow transplant. I remember like the sunlight was coming through the trees and I just knew, I knew I was going to be okay. It was just like, God said you're going to be okay or something, but it's just very spiritually emotional. I'm just like, it's you won. It's fine. You're going to be fine. Yeah, I remember that moment. I just had this confidence, like, yeah, it's going to be okay. Remember, not very many people knew about this day. They knew I was in this 2-month limbo period. I think only my dad knew because I was living with him. I think he might have been the only one. I just know it was a big relief, and it was like, okay, now what? Because I hadn't really made any plans. It was all encompassing to survive this.
So once you survived and you beat Hodgkin's disease, did your priorities change? Did you change jobs? How was your life different once you survived?
This is going to be weird, but my life didn't really change that much. I didn't. I was like waiting for like this, I don't know, new look on life and spiritual awakening and appreciation. I didn't get that, but I think I'm kind of weird that way. I think that is not the normal thing that happens to people. But it was just I'm just being honest. That was just me. It was just it was completely awful. Like, okay, what's next?
Yeah, that's okay. Honesty
Yeah.
is wonderful.
Yeah.
So now that you've survived Hodgkin's disease, you're in remission for 25 years or so. Is there anything that you do on a daily basis as far as nutrition, supplementation, exercise, just to keep yourself overall healthy so that hopefully it will never come back?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely got into just all types of vitamins and even the more unusual ones. Recently, I'm really a big fan of Shilajit, if that's the way you say it, and turmeric. As far as just like one thing the first time I had it when I went through radiation, I had a large cluster literally right over my heart. And so they would put these lead like pads to protect my lungs, but they couldn't protect my heart because the radiation is point specific for those of you not familiar. So they're radiating my neck and my chest, but there was no way to block my heart because all the tumors were right above it. And so my heart took a lot of radiation. And so ever since, for the past 25 years, I try and run once a week. And that's just like, it's non-negotiable. I don't care if it's hot outside, cold outside, if you're tired, whatever. Like I don't miss my weekly run. And that's because I want to keep my heart strong, because I'm always worried that somewhere down the road, that radiation will come back. I don't think it will, but I mean, that's just one thing I do is just keep my keep my heart strong by running, because it took a lot of radiation. The first time I had Hodgkin's.
Do you do any other types of activities as far as health goes?
I mean, I walk every day. I do push-ups. I tool around on my mountain bike occasionally. So I do those types of things to stay healthy. Being a former collegiate swimmer, you just hold yourself to a higher standard. I think because you're so used to being around. I mean, I trained year round from the age of 8 to the age of 23. And so just when you do that for 15 years, that stays with you. You just aren't going to let yourself get out of shape, really. It's just ingrained in who you are. So at least that was for me. So
Are there any foods you restrict in your diet? Sodas or things
there
like
are some. I've struggled. The chemo really tore up my stomach lining, and I've struggled with stomach acid problems ever since. So I have trigger foods that I need to be careful of, like a pizza, pasta. Those are two of the big ones. So I can eat those, but I just need to be careful because and not eat too much, and also eat them earlier in the evening. I don't want to be eating pizza or pasta like after 8, because if I lay down, then it's really going to mess with my stomach. Yeah, I still suffer with stomach issues, basically. Also, another weird thing. Here's a little bit of trivia not very many people know. My esophagus in my throat is 25% smaller than it used to be because the radiation shrunk it. Because the cancer here my esophagus is 25% smaller than it used to be. So I have to chew my food well and usually drink a lot of liquid because stuff just doesn't go down as well. Just little things like that. You're altered by these.
your body a little bit?
Yeah.
Do you do
So
anything spiritually to just keep your stress levels down and keep your mindset up?
just walking in nature is a big stress reliever for me. Yeah, I would say that's like the main one.
Looking back now that you know what, I mean, we are 25 years later, traditional medicine's the same. But are there any alternative paths that you think you might have tried had you known about them at the time?
Probably not, because I mean, if I had a new type of cancer now, like I have a whole different mindset where I would look for other alternatives. There's a lot of stuff out there that can help defeat stuff that doesn't come from the pharma. But I mean, also I'm much bolder now. When in my 20s, I was just programmed like, well, just listen to the doctors. I think now I question the entire medical industry much more, and I'm bold enough to do that and more educated to do that now. Whereas in my 20s, I know I'd have been like, all right, tell me what to do. Now there's so much things now with just life experience and wisdom. It's like learn to question things.
So you become your own personal advocate now in your medical areas. Yeah. So for your health, you're your own personal advocate.
Yeah, yeah.
So how do you continue to find purpose in life as time goes on? You've gone through a lot of struggles. You've overcome so much, the death of your mother, cancer, Hodgkin's disease, and other things that have happened in your life that I know of. How do you continue to find purpose? Because I know sometimes it's a challenge for people, especially when they've gone through so much trauma.
Yeah, and it's okay. The other things you're referring to is that my younger sister died, and then also my dad died just less than 2 years ago. So it's been rough. It's been really rough. You just take it day by day. Do your best each day, and they add up. When you string together, you just do your best every day, and it just adds up.
So anybody that has extreme fear, just keep doing it day by day and walk through it as you can.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And do you encourage anybody to follow you on Instagram?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I'm not a frequent poster, but when I put something on there, I do it for hopefully it's high entertainment value. It's not going to be bored. So yeah, check me out on Instagram. That would be awesome.
So your Instagram handle is at KirkWright44?
Yes.
Okay. So if somebody has a challenge in life, what would be your inspirational thought as far as telling them Day by day is one of them, but just to keep their heads up, especially because there's young children that get Hodgkin's diagnoses. There's people at all age. This is a terrible diagnosis. In fact, the breast cancer survivor I had on, she also had cancer in her lymph nodes as well. So what do you recommend people do? Are there resources out there, or what would you recommend people do in order to just keep the mindset? Because I think mindset, and even your mindset was when you surrendered, that was a shift in your mindset, but mindset is so very important.
Yeah, I mean, Hodgkin's is one of the better cancers to get. It's one of the more treatable ones, and it does tend to show up earlier in life than in a lot of cancers. So I think if you're going to have cancer, better to get it in your 20s than in your 60s or 70s, just because your body is just more healthy and better equipped to fight. So, I mean, early diagnosis is key, and you just listen to your body. Well, the first time with all of a sudden my neck bulged up. I mean, that was like obviously very easy to know something was wrong. But the second time I thought I had some type of kidney problems, but you just go in and get them checked, because it may what you think is going on may lead to something else. Like you may have some other problem. Just be in tune with your body. If there's something hurting you that it's been going on for a while, just go have it checked.
Do you think you're more spiritual now because of what you've gone through? Because I know you're a very spiritual person. You self-reflect often. Do you feel like you're more spiritual now because of what you've gone through?
I suppose. I think so. I mean, going through so many hard things, like you I don't know, it's hard to put into words.
Do you feel like it would have been better had you gotten more family support while you were going through this? Do you think people should try to entertain as much friends and family support? Or do you feel like it was better to go alone like you did?
No, it's definitely better to get lots of support. Again, that was just my own shutting down and closing people off. That's probably not a good way. Yeah, if I had to do it again, definitely would encourage more phone calls, more visits, more talking. We were a tough family. There wasn't really much pity doled out. You just everybody did their thing. And definitely would have just looked for more support from friends and family.
I think resilience is a word that comes to mind, and grit every time I think of you, as far as everything that you've gone through. And you've done some amazing things in life. Do you think that this has changed you going forward forever? Do you think your life would have been different had this not happened? And what is it a good life lesson to actually have had?
It changed me because no matter what's going on, no matter how bad of a day, you can always be like, well, at least it's not chemo. When you suffer like that, it raises your standard for suffering and being able to deal with things. You've had so many like harsh things. If you're at the DMV for 2 hours, like it doesn't matter. It's not chemo. You got a flat tire and you're walking down the road. Like it doesn't matter. Like it's not chemo. You raise the bar for what you can take. So that bar has just forever been raised. I guess it just helps you just brush things off better and don't sweat the small things. And it's all small things basically after going through major life challenges like this.
You know, it's funny you say it's not chemo was your tagline in your mind. And I found that people that survive difficult situations, when I was going through a difficult situation, mine was, I would always say, you know what, someone else somewhere else has it harder than me and they're still surviving. I can do this, is what I would always say to myself. But everybody that survives and gets through tough situations and comes out better on the other side, they always have a tagline. And yours is, at least it's not chemo. But everyone, mine was, somebody else has got it harder than me. I got to keep going. You know, if you can go through a situation, a tough situation like this, and come up with something in your mind, a short 1 or 2 sentence tagline, just to, when it gets really shitty and you're crawling because you're throwing up, you're crawling to the bathroom because you're throwing up from chemo, or you're going through tough times. I think if everyone can just have something they tell themselves in their head, it will make the difference between survival and not surviving. It'll keep you going in a mindset way that keeps you maybe not happy, but at least going in the right direction. At least that's my belief. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think it's so very important. Mindset is more important than anything, especially with a cancer diagnosis. And you had a mindset that kept you going. even though you didn't have the support that was out there and other people have had, your mindset kept you going.
You remind me of one thing that I don't know, the readers or the listeners will either be grossed out or maybe inspired, but when you're done with chemo, you're not supposed to drive yourself home. You're supposed to have someone come pick you up. But I would drive myself to the hospital and I would go in, and then I would lie to the release nurse and be like, "Oh, my ride is here." And then I would go out in my car and drive myself home, which you weren't supposed to do. And so that they didn't know I was driving myself home. But eventually we got into month 3, and it got harder and harder, where I would get to my car and I would just be, this is in the winter in Illinois. So it's 20 degrees out, and I'm just like got my head down on my front bumper and I'm just puking in the parking lot, like trying to get it together so I can get in the car and drive myself home. And sometimes I'd have to pull the car over and puke on the way home. Then I get home on the couch and I'd have my little puke bucket. But the last couple times I couldn't do it. So like my grandpa or my dad would have to come pick me up. But yeah, I mean, I was just determined to just kind of be self-supportive and just do it on my own. So I would drive myself home even though I wasn't supposed to, until about the last like month or, the last 2 or 3 times I couldn't do it anymore. Someone had to come get me. So
Well, that's the very definition of grit right there.
yes. Yeah. When you said the word grit, it reminded me of that. Like, yeah, that's grit. Like,
I think you're the reason now they actually make the person picking you up show up at the doctor's people out, because I've had to have somebody sign me out in order for me to leave. So I think you're the reason.
yeah,
So
I would sit there and I would sit there and fake it. I would go out and sit in the lobby, and the release nurse would be, and I would sit there for 10 minutes just knowing that I'm okay. When am I going to and then I'd be like, okay, my ride's here. Like, bye. And then I'd walk out, and I don't know if you can get away with that these days, but
I don't think you can get away with it anymore. And you're the reason why.
in the late 90s, you could. I don't know. It probably depends on each individual facility.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's probably reasons they don't want you to drive too. They don't want you to cause an accident. So, I mean,
Yeah, I would say towards the end there, maybe it wasn't so safe. So yeah, it was a struggle.
yeah. Do you do any probiotics I'm sure it destroyed your gut biome as well. Do you do any of that stuff to help your gut repair itself?
Well, I have done like a probiotic treatment where you order like a pack of like 30 pills or whatever, and you take them for 2 or 3 weeks. I've done that. I do. I drink kombucha occasionally, maybe like twice a month. I'll grab a bottle and drink that. That has a lot of probiotics in it.
Yeah. Well, that'll help too. If you could leave today and just tell listeners that are listening to this one thing to think of if they're going through a struggle like this, whether it's cancer or autoimmune diseases or something else that is very traumatic for them that they don't know if they can make it, what would it be? What would be your overall comment to them to just keep going, since you're Mr. Grit and Mr. Resilient?
I think it would just be, don't feel self-pity. Like, don't succumb to self-pity and like, woe is me and like, why me? And just get rid of that. Don't feel sorry for yourself, because like you said, I mean, there's somebody in India that is only eaten, once in the past 3 days and living in a roach infested hut or something, there's people suffering all over the planet and they got it worse than you. So don't give into self-pity.
Yeah. Don't have a victim mindset. I think the victimhood mindset destroys more people than
Yeah, it goes hand in hand with that. Like, that's because that's just going to make you, that's not a good foundation which to build your internal fortitude. If you're just like, oh, why'd this happen to me? Poor me. Like, you're building a weak foundation to start whatever process test you're about to go through. Just don't feel sorry for yourself.
All right. Well, I think everybody just keep your head up, come up with your own mantra, and keep a positive mindset through the whole thing, and you'll be okay. Even though there's going to be rough days and everybody knows it, just keep your head up. I think we covered it all, Sir Kirk. Is there anything else you want to?
No, just thanks for having me on. It was, I've had an interesting life, and A lot of it hasn't been easy, but I'm here. So trying to make the best of it. I still think great things are coming my way. So,
well, it's been a pleasure, and I hope everyone has a wonderful week. This is Diva Mia signing off.
Sir Kirk, I'm signing off. Thanks for listening to my story today, everyone.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, and drop a comment. We'd love hearing from you. Visit thedivadetails.com to connect. See you next week for more.
Diva Details podcast and website are intended solely for informational and entertainment purposes. The content provided does not constitute professional, medical, financial, or legal advice. We are not licensed medical practitioners, financial advisors, or legal professionals. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Any financial topics discussed are based on personal opinions and experience and should not be considered professional advice. The content provided does not constitute legal advice. The Diva Details and its affiliate contributors and guests are not liable for any losses or damages arising from the use of our content. The opinions expressed in the podcast are solely those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of any affiliated organization, sponsors, or partners. All facts discussed in the podcast are researched and accurate to the best of our knowledge at the time of recording. Information may change over time. No guarantees are made regarding the accuracy, completeness, or reliability of any statements or opinions presented. It is the responsibility of the listener to verify any and all facts that may influence their decision. This podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered professional advice.